Let's travel back in time thousands of years ago to the start of Vietnam's story, a tale that begins in the heart of Southeast Asia. People settled near the Red River, where the land was good for farming, providing fertile soil and abundant water. They built homes and started a new culture, creating a community that thrived on agriculture and mutual cooperation. This culture is special and still around today, celebrated through festivals, traditional practices, and vibrant clothing. Around 1,000 years before Jesus was born, a significant era began. The Dong Son people became really good at making things out of bronze, mastering the art of bronze casting. They made these amazing drums with beautiful designs, each one telling a story of their craftsmanship. They even traded with other groups, sharing their culture and expanding their influence across regions. These Dong Son drums are super important to Vietnamese people today, symbolizing a rich heritage that continues to inspire. Many years later, in 111 BCE, China took over Vietnam. This marked the beginning of a long period of Chinese dominance. This lasted for over 1,000 years. During this time, the Vietnamese people experienced significant changes. China brought its own ways of doing things, like its government, and beliefs like Confucianism. These influences shaped Vietnamese society in many ways. But even though they were ruled by China, the Vietnamese people always remembered who they were. They held on to their traditions and cultural identity. They fought back many times. Resistance was a constant theme throughout this period. Two sisters, the Trung sisters, led a famous rebellion in the year 40 CE. Their courage and leadership inspired many. They are heroes in Vietnam. Their legacy is celebrated to this day. Finally, in 938 CE, a brave general named Ngo Quyen won a big battle at Bac Dang River. This victory was a turning point. This victory meant Vietnam was free from China and could be its own country again. The Vietnamese people had reclaimed their independence and sovereignty. After becoming independent, Vietnam had a golden age. Strong rulers from families like the Le, Tran and Le led the country. They expanded Vietnam further south. They also built beautiful temples and palaces. Buddhism became popular alongside other beliefs like Confucianism and Taoism. Art, writing and buildings flourished. The Vietnamese people bravely protected their land from invaders, even the Mongols. But sadly, there were also fights inside the country between families like the Trinh and the Nguyen. These fights made Vietnam weaker. In the 1800s, France took control of Vietnam, marking the beginning of a long period of colonization. The French exploited Vietnam's resources, taking valuable goods like rice, rubber and minerals, and treated the people unfairly, often forcing them into hard labor. They introduced some new things like Western schools and ideas, which brought a different perspective to the region. But they also tried to suppress Vietnamese traditions and culture. Despite the harsh conditions, the Vietnamese people never stopped fighting for their freedom, showing incredible resilience and determination. After World War II, a leader named Ho Chi Minh declared that Vietnam was independent again, igniting hope among the people. This declaration led to the First Indochina War, a fierce struggle between the Vietnamese and the French colonial forces. The Vietnamese achieved a significant victory at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, forcing the French to leave and ending their colonial rule. However, the country was then divided into North and South Vietnam, leading to further conflict and division. This division eventually led to the Vietnam War, a devastating conflict that brought immense suffering and destruction to the country. Finally, in 1975, the war ended and Vietnam was reunified, bringing a sense of relief and hope for a better future. The post-war period was incredibly challenging, as the country faced the enormous task of rebuilding and healing from the scars of war. But in 1986, the government introduced Doi Moi, a series of economic reforms aimed at revitalizing the economy and improving living standards. These changes spurred rapid economic growth, transforming Vietnam into a dynamic and thriving nation. Today, Vietnam stands as a strong and growing country, making significant strides on the global stage and showcasing its resilience and potential. Its story, filled with both hardships and triumphs, highlights the incredible strength and spirit of the Vietnamese people who have overcome immense challenges to build a brighter future.